There's only certain how much cars you can have, how many houses you can have, and how much you can travel in style. It's like, it's just not...
How many, Gary? How many cars can you have? Let me know the limit.
You've definitely only got one bum, shall we say. You've only got one ass and it can only sit in one seat.
You said the phrase there, drunken consciousness. What does that mean if people don't understand?
When we get drunk in his own consciousness, then everything that we could possibly want in life is there for us. It's just when are we ready to recognise that? We have mentors in his life, like chapters of books. People sometimes are not always going to be in your life for the rest of the book, but they serve you at the right time. All business really is, guys, it's problem solving. You find a big enough problem to solve, the door's already going to open up for you. So we have all this information as Ed, but we don't know what to do with it. What is our rituals daily? Because how you do one thing is how you do anything. Remember that. And thoughts will come, thoughts will go. It's like a cloud. Bad clouds, rain clouds come, but we do know that they're going to go. Try and be the observer of the thoughts and the internal dialogue that doesn't serve you. You are not your thoughts. You're an observer of them. Trauma and wound healing is a real thing. Everybody is fighting something somewhere at some time. Wounds and the traumas that have not yet been healed. When somebody swallows an emotional trauma, and that's what we do, we try and suppress it. And if that's not yet healed, what ends up happening is...
Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Success School podcast. I just want to say thank you so much for being here and taking time to listen to the show today. And I also just want to make sure you are aware that my whole mission with this podcast is to be able to give people access to conversations that are going to enlighten, they're going to inspire, and they're going to give you the information needed to genuinely start to live a happier, a healthier, and a more fulfilling life. But here's the thing, I am just one man. So that's really, really hard to get a lot of people to be positively impacted when I'm doing this alone. So I'm just going to ask a little favor. And I know you're probably sick of hearing this. You probably hear it on every podcast you listen to. But please, if you genuinely do think this podcast is valuable and can help people, if you could just take a second to hit that subscribe button and maybe go one further, tell other people about it, share it on your Insta stories, anything you can do to help bring more awareness to the show would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for being here, and I really hope you enjoy this episode. Gary Rhodes, welcome back to Success School. Well, officially, this is the first time you've been under the new brand Success School. You was here twice under the Rich in Success brand. How are you doing, Gary? You good?
Incredible. Thank you very much for asking. Yeah, just coming off the back of an incredibly crazy 2 weeks. So firstly, it's a pleasure to spend the next 45 minutes with you and hopefully a bit of time answering questions. But yeah, absolutely amazing. Thank you.
I said to the guys in the members area in the WhatsApp group earlier that the first time I met you, I think it was about 4 years ago. And I came to your house and you looked after us very, very, very well. You fed us. We was there for hours. And genuinely, you changed my life that day. So I want to start by acknowledging that and say thank you so much, because your wisdom, your enthusiasm, your energy, your passion, your knowledge that I got in one night just actually opened my eyes and started to enable me to see what is actually possible with the correct mindset. And I know one thing you spoke about that night was how it sort of began with Tony Robbins cassettes and this whole journey of self-development and personal development. And now you're doing literally world-changing things. You've had success in business that many people dream of. But I just want to start with that idea of self-development and what your opinion is based on how imperative do you think self-development is to any success in life?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think we all have to start somewhere. It's at what point in his life do we recognise we need to find a better environment that truly serves us? And you know, for me, a little bit of my background in sort of starting out in the journey of life, as parents usually are an influence on us, the education system's an influence on us, the people, the friends that were around are an influence on us. And for me, you know, I didn't have the best environment. Of course, I had amazing parents. We've all got amazing parents, and you know, they've got their traumas and wounds that they bring and do the best that they can. But for me, really, it was like I had a choice to go down the route of drugs, alcohol, or prison, or go down the route of health. You know, and don't get me wrong, I'd smoked and drinks on the street corners, but there was a defining moment, certainly for me, that I saw a guy running past us with a vest on and a backpack. It looked like Rocky Marciano with his big arms in winter. And it kind of took me by surprise. And there was a part of me thinking, what an idiot in shorts. But then there's a part of me thinking, well, maybe I'm that idiot drinking alcohol on the street corner. So for me, that was the defining moment. I thought, well, I need somebody like that I can spend time around, because one of the things I've learned is that the environment is stronger than will, and who we choose to spend time around really does matter. And I've got the strong willpower, but equally, you put the right people in the wrong environment, eventually the environment will get them. So I hunted this guy down. It's a bit stalkerish, but I found out where he lived, and I said I'd love to get healthy, get fit, and he kind of looked at me a little bit strange, and he said 5 a.m. tomorrow, come to the house. Went to the house. I was there at 4:30 a.m. Never been up at that time in my life. Never saw that time of day. Didn't know there was two 4:30s in a day. Knocked on his door, and he's like, wow. So we went running, and I'll compress this for you because it speeds really up to the question that you've just asked. The first run I went on was 100 yards, and I threw up everywhere. But one thing I did was I was committed, and I made a pact with myself, is that I have to commit to sticking with this guy. And I know I'm not going to like running. I didn't like walking up the street at 4:30 to the house. I felt sick because I was out of breath. But the fact is that I committed to sticking to this and having the consistency. Anyway, that went to a mile, 2 mile, 15 mile, to the point I recognise this guy's not got really a full shilling. This guy is just literally like Forrest Gump. Not only does he want to run and train, he trains 3 days a week. But that put me in a place that took me to the next level. And remember, we have mentors in his life, like chapters of books. People sometimes are not always going to be in your life for the rest of the book, but they serve you at the right time. And I think it's on us to truly recognize that we're like hitchhikers through the world. The train's going to serve us here, but the train's now going in a different direction. It's not that they're wrong and we're right. It's like they're going to London, we're going to Scotland. Thank you for the journey so far. And then we part and we get off and we go on this journey, which then led me, obviously, when you look at somebody who's generally into health and fitness, generally doesn't smoke and drink. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't always go together. Of course it does. But ultimately, I avoided any alcohol. My mum and dad, unfortunately, drank a lot of alcohol. Are the alcoholics? I mean, I would say so. I always believe that somebody's an alcoholic if you take drink away from them, they're not a happy person. And they wasn't happy if they didn't have drink. Now, again, I didn't realise at the time that they was masking wounds that had not yet been healed. As a child at 16, 15, I didn't recognise that. I just saw parents that loved me, was doing the best that they can, but didn't have the ability to get drunk in consciousnesses, which is what I talk about. And, ultimately, that served me then to meet. The environment's so important, and as this part you have to get is that environment picks you up and puts you in another environment, and generally that can be the ecosystem to the people that you meet. And that got me in touch with gym instructors, sports therapists, physios. I was in that world. I'm in a different level of conversation around, whether it's academics, people who want to be doctors, ultimately people that want to serve other people. So really quickly I learned that alcohol's not part of what I want to do. Drugs is not what I want to do. And no disrespect to the people on the street corner, we're all going on our own journey. But my journey certainly wasn't that. And I identified that I would say it could be late, it could be young, but at 15, 16, I was clear I wanted to go in the other direction. So,
where did that come from though, Gary? I know you said there about your parents drank and stuff, but why was it so clear to you at 15 you wanted to go in that direction, just from seeing some random guy in shorts running?
It's a great question, Matt. I kind of got a blink of my parents drinking alcohol. I realised and recognised that I'm going down that same path because, it's the same environment. I've kind of absorbed, am I doing anything wrong? I'm just doing what I'm doing. It was just, all I can explain is I think maybe your audience can resonate that there's a point in life where we almost become the observer of who we are. We almost step outside of ourselves, and we know that it's almost like Scrooge. You get a path of like, this is not what I want to do. Life is always shaping us to be somebody that we are not potentially if we don't stand guard of what we're doing. And for me, it was like, I don't know, the higher source, higher energy, higher intelligence. For a moment, I checked in. It was like this internal voice that just says, I ain't going down that route. And even if the other road, I don't know where I'm going, this uncertainty, I'm willing to go down that route than the one that I'm seeing in front of me.
You said the phrase there, drunk in consciousness. What does that mean if people don't understand?
Yeah, I mean, I use that term sort of quite frequently, but what I mean is like, I think a lot of the time is people are so sort of caught up in their own world that we find a way to change the way we feel. And that might be sex addiction, it might be drugs, it might be alcohol, whatever. It can sometimes serve us, but it can also sometimes not serve us. So when I was like 14, 15, I used to see and I say this with respect, I'm sure my mum may see this, but, people turn to either a stimulant to make them feel a certain way. Because remember, that's all anybody's looking for. The only thing that matters is the way we feel in any given moment. So as we go through life, if we're not living life the way we want it to be, we need to now sort of manifest a way to feel that way. So having alcohol only numbs anything. It depends how you do it. You can go out and have a good night, but you have to be the intention of why you're drinking. If you're going out every Friday night and getting leathered because you don't like your week, then we've got issues. But if you have a nice glass of wine with family or whatever your drink is, and it's relaxing, well, great. I'm all for that. Please don't think I'm against, the right time and to have a drink. But when I say drinking consciousness, what I mean is I want to get drunk. And it came to me in consciousness. I want to be so aware that I'm aware of the direction I want to go in. Life's so amazing that I want to get drunk in consciousness. It just came through me. I want to be able to be aware of, the little things, the relationships. I don't want to numb my senses. So I want to be awake. What it really means is drunken consciousness is I want to be awake. I want to be able to see the things and feel the things and not miss anything. Life's really a gift. And I don't say that with an inspiring word. It really is. When we get drunk in his own consciousness, then everything that we could possibly want in life is there for us. It's just when are we ready to recognize that?
That's it, isn't it? It's being able to actually see that. And I think that's the thing. Most people, they're just on autopilot. And again, it's not necessarily initially their fault, because you only know what you know, and you are heavily influenced, as you said there, Gary, like by your environment at the end of the day. And it's monkey see, monkey do, right? And I'm sure loads of people will relate with this. Like, you just copy what your parents have done, what your teacher told you to do, what your friends are doing, and you want to fit in. And it's that kind of tribal thing of you don't want to be an outsider, which I think is what's so fascinating about you at 15, deciding, I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. I want to do something different. And like you say, it was like this outer body moment almost, where you just saw it almost like from the person looking down and goes, I can go this way, I can go that way. But I think that applies to anybody listening right now, wherever you are on your journey. What I love about something you said there is, wherever your life is right now, you can just change. You can just make that decision to make a change and surround yourself with different people. And that's going to take you on this whole new trajectory that then is going to have that ripple effect, right? You also spoke a little bit about like trauma and parents dealing with traumas is I think what you said there about parents, we're all doing the best we can, right? And we're all trying to heal from our own wounds. What's been your experience when it comes to unhealed trauma? And importantly, what you see is maybe some of the mistakes people are making in their daily life because they haven't healed.
Yeah, two great questions. So just regarding trauma and wounds, I mean, I'm speaking from the place I'm at now. So, at the time, please don't think I knew all this. This is like we're unpacking. If we have to unpack a lot of things here. And I use the analogy of that, most people walking around today are at a level 9. What do I mean by that? In terms of our ability to respond and act, most of us are in the car, somebody cuts you up. It's like immediately somebody's getting annoyed and shouting at you. Well, it's not that person is, an arsehole, or may well be, and forgive the swearing. It's really that their life is at a level 9. So it only takes a 1 to get them to a 10. And that generally comes back to, I call it triggering. It's wounds. We get triggered all the time by wounds that have not yet been healed. And what do I mean by that? Subconsciously, we can be going through our lives and we could have had a bad boss, we could have had a bad partner, whatever's going on. We don't pick it up. Sometimes I actually have seen people that they're in a bad mood and they don't even know why themselves, but something's triggered them. And that's their autonomic nervous system warning them there's danger. But they can't correlate something that's happened. It's a blue car that, ran the brother over. I'm just making this up, but they know intuitively that something there potentially is danger. So
it's like the subconscious almost that's trying to protect them, right?
Absolutely. And we also know consciously, there's things that trigger us all the time. An example would be that, somebody's coming and opened the door for you. Well, previously there's a guy or a woman that's took advantage, that was opening the door because they wanted to take advantage. But actually, it's interesting because that individual will look at things through the lens of their wounds. So if I open the door for somebody, it's because I want to be kind, but to them it might be, well, I might want to take advantage of them or want something from them. So again, the way you look at things really matters. And we have to also recognize that the wounds and the traumas that have not yet been healed, when somebody swallows an emotional trauma, and that's what we do, we try and suppress it. We suppress an emotion. And if that's not yet healed, what ends up happening is the body presents an invoice in the form of a disease eventually down the line. But along that way, along that timeline, we are always running at a level 7, 8, or a 9. And then what tends to happen is we're very reactive. Why? Because we're not now really controlling the way we operate our system. All it takes is a blue car, somebody to open the door for us, whatever. And now we're reactive. And when we're reactive, we're not proactive. And when we're not proactive, we're not in control of his life. So again, the world is going to come at us in different ways. Unknown trauma that's going to come, things that are going to show up. So I think it's a really important topic, and we're working with some of the world's leading people. And maybe this is a note to write down. There's a guy by the name of Dr. Gabor Monte, who is a phenomenal guy. He's been on the podcast with Joe Rogan, and we're working closely with some of the team in terms of. There's a guy called Sam Qureshi and Richard. They're actually coming to Leeds, and we're looking at the blueprint of pain body. But I don't want to go off on a tangent on that. But to answer your question, trauma and wound healing is a real thing. Everybody is fighting something somewhere at some time. And I think if we can have compassion to recognize, how can we be more compassionate in situations? How do we raise vibration of helping somebody? My motto is like Tony Robbins, is the secret to living is giving. And it can come across very corny, or it can come across very, this guy just wants to help people. When you truly align your purpose of what you want to do in life and you collaborate with the right people, it generally puts you in the right environment and people are looking out for you. But if people feel betrayed or people are not loyal, then we go within and we sometimes, without realizing, expect other people to have the same standard of us. And if we expect them to do what we would do, we're always going to get let down by the standards that we have. And, we all have very different standards and we're all at different times of our life going through things. So, yeah, compassion's a big area that we need to focus on.
And what struck me there, just listening to you speak, is it's that thing, and that I want to highlight really, is that we live our life so often just taking reference from past experiences, and then we project that. And I think that's something that's really important to be aware of. Like what you're saying there about the door, holding a door for somebody, how somebody perceives that is going to be so different. And I think this ties us back in with the original question of like, why, how important is self-development to success? I think self-development is about becoming more self-aware, recognizing those unhealed traumas, learning more about your behaviors, and then making adjustments as you go. And I think that that's just something I want to kind of highlight there, is in terms of any success in your life, can you truly achieve what you want to achieve in life if you're seeing it through the wrong lens? If you're seeing it as, oh, people are out to get me, or there's always haters and people don't like me and this kind of thing. It's kind of like you need to change that lens. But in order to change that lens, you need to understand how you put it on in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about, I know your journey has obviously led to the impact emulation device and this kind of idea with your nana, where you helped her reverse her osteoporosis, which is huge. If people don't know your story, could you just maybe share a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, well, just to follow on from my background as 15, 16 and getting into health and stuff, I always wanted to stay in that industry of personal training and then go on to study to be a physio. And the cassettes and CDs, so we'll jump straight to that, where I got the cassettes and CDs of Tony Robbins, and everybody probably knows who they are. Whether you're just starting the personal development, he's kind of like the, whether it's Brian Tracy or the older generation, we have all these different gurus. And I think there's so many different gurus that comes into his life, or mentors that serves us at different times. Like people just think, maybe I'm all about Tony Robbins. Well, I love Wayne Dyer. There's so many people that we go through life that I think it's a tool in his toolbox that serve us at different times. And regarding my grandmother, obviously, she really was a big influence on my life, bringing me up. She was very glamorous. Her hair was immaculate and nails were beautiful. And she was just like, anyone that said, is this your mum? I didn't dare correct them to say it's actually my grandmother, which was funny because it happened so often. And she just smiled and I'm just like, oh, whatever. So obviously she was very dear to me. And I saw her sort of, a posture as older people, get there. The kyphosis start to lean over and, it's called osteoporosis. And I was thinking, well, my beautiful grandmother, I don't want to start going back into the ground. How do I get her shoulders back and breathe and looking good and be more independent? And, I looked into osteoporosis and, people say it's a disease. And I'm like, well, actually, it kind of looks like a deconditioning of the bone. Anything that's deconditioned, I know can be reconditioned. We just have to find the right environment or stimulus to do it. So after buying Tony Robbins CDs, listening to them, feeding the mind, building a national business, I'm just going to speed up. learning all the things of an entrepreneur, of hiring staff. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. I just saw that I wanted to be a physio and I need to fund my studying. I got with my partner, we've got a child, some responsibilities come. You learn very quickly then what your priorities are. We had lots of staff, lots of responsibilities, over 4,500 customers throughout the UK, whether it be the Marriott Group, the banking group, the Harrogate International Centre, banks. We had cherry pickers, we had electrical company, we had all these different things going on. And in 2012, I was in a really good position financially, where I'd done my vision board, my wish board, and everybody wants a vision and a wish board. And what I thought was going to make me happy is I'll buy a Ferrari, I'll buy a house, I want some gates. I'd create my vision board. I want a boy, I want to learn how to speak Spanish, and I had this big list. And through all that, I got hit and battered and bruised about everybody, betraying, disloyal, and I'm looking after everybody, and I'm the one that's helping everybody, and no one's doing anything for me. And I've gone on that whole journey. But Tony Robbins really helped just keep me. I would call it the GPS system. We all need a GPS system to know that we've got as guidance of where we are and where we're going. My name's Gary Rhodes. So, it's funny, we set up a thing called Roads to Success. And what happens when there's no roads? How do we find his way back to the highway to get to our destination? And 2012, I'd done all the things. I'd bought a Ferrari, drove to Monaco, done all those things. And that really, I would say, would impress a lot of people. But for me, I was still unfulfilled. It's like, great. Matt, you came to my beautiful house in Harrogate and you saw everything there, but that's materialistic. And, truly, what you think will make you happy probably won't. And that's why defining what your purpose is and what you're doing is you need to recognize that you've got to love what you do. You've got to be passionate about what you do, but then how do you monetize what you do? And there's nothing wrong with monetizing your passion.
But it's starting with the passion, not the money, right? When did you realize that? Because presumably you didn't realize it en route to making the money. It was maybe at a point where you'd made a certain amount of money that you go, oh shit, I thought this would give me all the happiness and the answers, and it hasn't. Now what? Was that how it worked?
I'd like to say that I knew exactly. No. It's a decade of battering that you realise that what you think you need, you don't need, and that it serves you, because at some level, the financial drive of determination, whether it's to fund the study, whether it's to pay for a child and a house and all the things that I think is going to make me happy, along the way I enjoyed. However, when you get to a certain financial level, there's only certain how much cars you can have, how many houses you can have, and how much you can travel in style. It's like, it's just not.
How many, Gary? How many cars can you have? Let me know the limit.
Yeah, you've definitely only got one bum, shall we say? You've only got one ass, and it can only sit in one seat.
Right, got it.
And variety, of course, is one of the 6 human needs. So in my head, I was like convincing what Tony's saying. I need variety. Just one car's surely not enough. But anyway, it's funny because we try and tweak things to suit the narrative that we want to have. But when I recognised it was probably in 2011, me and Nicola, my partner, was going through a very sort of challenging time, because we were just literally working non-stop. We've got a son and a daughter, and of course, we had a lot of responsibility. It was looking after my parents, looking after her parents. Suddenly we become sort of the force to be the answer to help everybody financially. And it's not just the money. It's really it's never a lack of money. It's like Tony said, it's a lack of resources. And people look to you when there's a problem. Gary and Nicola will sort it out. So we took everybody's ways and strays and helped people out, but it come at a cost, because we was giving from a place we couldn't give from energetically, and that depleted us. So when we got to 2012, Tony Robbins was on at UPW in London. And I said to Nicola, I says, look, we was literally on the verge of potentially breaking up. And not because we didn't get along, but we were just both exhausted, and we both didn't have as much time to spend with each other. And I thought, we're losing ourselves in this process here. So I said, let's go to Tony Robbins. We bought his cassettes and CDs on finance. If you really want to find a way, you'll find a way. No excuses, trust me. You find the right why, and the what and the how does show up, trust me. So we got the cassettes and CDs in 2002 or 3 or whenever it was, on finance. And I'm driving to Harrogate in a Fiat Panda with a hole in the ground, with a washing line holding some ladders on, going across, scared of heights, never cleaned a window, And I look back then thinking, wow, fast forward 10, 12 years. I'm now going to the event Platinum. I'm giving his charity a nice donation to his charity, because I just felt like I wanted to give back. It wasn't about, I'm going to give some money to Tony Robbins' charity so I can get recognised. In fact, he probably didn't even know. But I did that because I felt like I needed to give back. And those 4 days, let me tell you, if you've not attended a Tony Robbins event, is beyond life-changing. I mean, he already changed my life and helped me, but I took that and applied it. A lot of people listen to things but don't apply it. And what I did was I'm just relentless at trying to get seek for knowledge, but apply it. I don't want to be overwhelmed with information and knowledge and not apply it. So when I bought these tickets and went there, we had 4 days, something called the dicking process, to go through all the trauma release. I didn't know yet then what I was doing, but I let go of a lot of shit and got rid of it because I knew I needed to be light to go on the next journey. And from that, at the back of the room, there was a device called biodensity, and one of the chief scientists there, and one of them worked at NASA, basically helped invent the lunar rover. Smart guys. And Tony, of course, brings the best of the best in the world to these events. Now, I was obviously thinking, my grandmother, I need to help my grandmother. I've lost myself. I've gone into opening an FM company. I forgot my grandmother. I need to do this. So like the calling, I went through that door to open money and try and be financially free to pay for the studying. And then a decade later, I'm realizing that actually my passion's health and wellness. My passion is helping people. Now, I'm not saying, what we're doing wasn't helping people. And I learned a lot and I'm so grateful. In fact, everything that happened was my journey and I love it. I wouldn't change it. But then applying it to the passion is when I recognize that's what lights me up. I mean, literally lit me up from things. So I basically bought the machine. I'm going to really compress this to your question is I helped my grandmother reverse osteoporosis in 23 months, took her from a minus 2.6, which is the onset of osteoporosis, back into the normal ranges of a 30-year-old. And then I was selling my business at the time and I was just moving to Spain thinking I just need time out to go spend a year just relaxing. We sold everything. We moved to Spain, moved on the beach, bought a beautiful place overlooking the ocean. I thought I'd made it, but it was burning desire that like, I've now got access to these scientists and this technology. Flipping heck, if I can help my grandmother, we can help everybody. And I started to more looked into it. All business really is, guys, it's problem solving. You find a big enough problem to solve in the world, in the emerging markets, the universe will open up. The door's already going to open up for you. Still need to work really smart and hard with it. But I took that device and then basically I got, connected with Tony Robbins and the guys, and we ended up collaborating and we opened up 11 countries, multi-millions in sales, and we're able to transform a lot of people's lives. And with that technology now, we're in over 200 clinics, over 1 million uses on the devices. But it's not just bones, it's bloods, it's biomechanics. I'm spending time with top world human biologists. So I'm really living my life on purpose with a passion. And of course, the money's great, don't get me wrong. But when you truly have enough money for yourself and your cup's overflowing, it's real. And it might sound selfish, this, but everyone says, what I find is with a lot of people, they give from a place they can't give, energetically and financially. My mum is absolutely the most amazing woman on planet Earth. Financially, she's not literate, but financial. And we're actually just doing a campaign with Salary Finance to help 1 billion people understand financial literacy. So we get into 1 billion people. I was in Davos at the World Economic last week, and we've had a lot of the biggest banks in the world back us. Everybody from, head of JP Morgan right the way through to, Tony Blair, you name it. And that's amazing because we're helping a lot of people get the tools, the technologies we call it learn, listen, and get paid. How do people get the awareness, get the education? Because when we have that, we can ask better questions. So I might have gone off a little bit there on the question, but the passion, when you mirror your passion and you have to find a way to monetize it, it's incredible. The Tony Robbins journey set me on to be able to speak on Tony Robbins' stage, travel the world with Tony in terms of going around where he's doing all the events and speak on a topic that I'm passionate about, which shines a torch on anything that you're doing. So we have a responsibility to bring our knowledge and information to the marketplace to help people.
Just on that, if somebody's listening to that and they're like, okay, this sounds amazing, but I don't even know what my passion is or how to find my passion, and then to start thinking about how do I monetize my passion? Have you got any advice for somebody in that position? They're like, they get it, but they're just not sure what their passion is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could take an example on the Q&A because I think real time we'll do that. I don't want to sort of do that right now, but I think it's not as simple as that, like passion and money. How do we make it work? We're all on different journeys at different times. Some of these people on the call might have a good business background. Some of them might not have any. So it's where you are. I mean, I kind of failed my way to finding out the information now. So I think we all do. We don't know what we don't know. And I always use the example, if you draw a circle, just think of a clock and you've got 12 o'clock all the way through back to 11 and 12 o'clock. If you just take one of the slices from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and in that area, we know what we know. So we know to get up in the morning and brush his teeth. We know to get up in the morning and drive his car. But because we know what we know, there's now a slice from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And that area is we know what we don't know. We know that we don't, and this is for me, guys, you guys might be able to fly a rocket, I can't. I know that I can't speak Japanese. I know what I don't know. But then we've got from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Now, this is the bigger area, okay? And this is what we call, we don't know what we don't know. But in this area is where all of the risk is. But guess what? It's where all of the rewards are. So once we figure out we know what we know what we don't know, it's an area there you might want to go into. And it's relevant to what your question is the passion might lie in the area if you don't know what you don't know. You might be passionate about mangoes, but you don't know what you don't know about selling mangoes. It sounds really crazy, but it's like, so now you need an element of financial stuff. But I believe, the quality of your lives is determined by the quality of your questions. It's a line that I've learned from Tony. We're all regurgitating these lines, but they're so powerful if we look at them and apply them as opposed to listen to it and say, wow, that's really good. Change the way you look at things, and things that you look at change. What does that even mean? We all need to apply it to our real lifetime understanding in the areas of passion. And when we can understand that, that is the first step then to monetizing. Because if you've truly got something where you can add value, it's not very difficult to then monetize it. Of course, it needs to have the commercial arm of it. And however big you want to scale it. I've scaled the business locally, nationally, European, and then international. So from an advisor to people like GCH Partners, and GCH Partners was one of the team that helped take Jeff Bezos, on the IPO. GCH.com, I'm now one of their global advisors. And I don't say this to impress you. I say it because anything is possible. From me driving my little Fiat Panda with a hole in, just sat on the street corner, to be able to take all this information in, truly care about what I'm doing. And I'm far from perfect, and I'm definitely not the smartest guy in the room ever. But what I do is I'm not afraid to ask the questions, because I truly want to seek and understand what I can take in, and then how I can apply it. We don't want to listen, we can't drink from a fire hose. We have to have it fed, spoon-fed in information. So we have all this information as Ed, but we don't know what to do with it. So we have to be very, very mindful about, in the next 30, 60, 90 days, what is it I want to truly achieve physically, mentally, emotionally, financially? What is our rituals daily? Because how you do one thing is how you do anything. Remember that. How you do one thing is how you do anything. So my rituals every single morning, and then I've got a beautiful place in Spain, England, and Miami, and in each place I have the most sophisticated technologies. But guess what? You don't need to spend all that money on the technologies. I call it the last 4 doctors that you'll ever need: Dr. Diet, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Happy, and Dr. Movement. Okay, all we need to do is get barefoot in the ground, magnetism, reconnect with Earth. This might sound a little bit woo-woo and in the air, but trust me, the only thing that's real is energy and frequency. And we can connect to planet Earth and barefoot. I mean, go hug a tree, whatever. But get back into nature, breathing. We're trying to control everything and everyone, or I was, but I couldn't control how I was breathing. I was having untriggered panic attacks. I was having anxiety. I was on all these internal thoughts that I am not good enough. So you have to come back to your rituals. When you practice your rituals regularly, then before you go and hit the world, you're already at a zero in terms of ability to respond. But you also have the energy and the focus to be proactive in whatever you choose to go on, whether it's your sister that's going through a challenging time. If there's a fire in a building, I don't want a guy that says, I think it's this way. I want to go, it's that way, we're going. Now I might have it right, but you're coming with me because I'm confident, I'm certain. So when real life situations hit us, we have to be ready for that, and we have to be confident, and we have to try find out the things that we don't know. When I go into a building, not many people think it, but it's like, you want to know where the fire exits are. Most people don't know. They haven't even thought of it. But in a real life situation, and trust me, when I say bad times are coming, someone in the family is going to pass away. Some event's going to happen that you need to deal with. We want the life force to be within you. So if you can carve an hour out for yourself, or half an hour, most people have got meetings booked with everybody, but they forget to book a meeting with themselves. And that's what I would encourage everybody to do on the start of it. And if I could pass my younger self that information, I'd take information in, and then I'd go vomit on everybody and tell them what they need to do without applying it. So I would really encourage every single person to make sure that you take 100 grams of sugar and you give yourself 80 grams of it. Don't go and give 80. In fact, sugar's a bad analogy.
Yeah, terrible, especially with what you do, Gary, but go on. Health expert.
But what I mean is the sweetness of it, make sure there's enough for you first, serve yourself, fill your own cup. And it's not selfish. In fact, anybody that comes to you and says that you're selfish, then what they're really saying to you is they expect you to put them before yourself.
So they want you to be they're being selfish.
Yeah, and it's not that they're coming from a bad place, it's that they've got a level of expectations. And we talk about boundaries, we have to protect as boundaries. If I could say to my younger self or my son, which I do, is like, we have to protect our boundaries. If somebody shows up at my gates, they're about half a mile away. I'm not bothered. I've got the boundary. I can either let them in or not. But if somebody shows up at my front door and starts knocking, I'm now reacting to it. And that analogy is really in life. The hardest thing is to say no and protect your own energy.
Yeah.
Where you choose to spend your time, not just physically, with location, I mean in your head. Because that's why meditation is so good. It's about just allowing to just switch off and be. And thoughts will come, thoughts will go. It's like a cloud. Bad clouds, rain clouds come, but we do know that they're going to go. Try and be the observer of the thoughts and the internal dialogue that doesn't serve you. You are not your thoughts. You're an observer of them. And don't allow that rain cloud comes along and then for the rest of the day, it messes your day up because the cloud already left, but you're still attached to the negative cloud that were pouring rain on you.
That was amazing, Gary. It's something I always say is when emotion is high, logic is low. And it's that thing of being able to detach from the emotion and attach to the logic, rational thinking. There were so many things you just said, Gary, that I wanted to highlight, jumping on, ask a question, but then you answered your own question before I asked it.
Please feel free.
No, but there was so much. But I think there was just some key points that I just want to say. Look, courage, having the courage to step out into the unknown. You don't know what you don't know, but you're only ever going to find that by going out there. And I think that was, one thing that I really took away from it. Something you sort of did speak about previously is how things got quite difficult and way back years ago when you and Nicola were having problems. And one thing I know working with a lot of people that are like maybe quite new to business or starting a side hustle, things like that, is there's so many mental and emotional challenges, fear of judgment, other people doubting them, self-doubt, lacking self-belief. Of course, we all go through all of that. But for somebody who has had success on quite a relatively huge scale, what's the worst that it's been for you? What's been the worst consequences to high pressure, expectation, building businesses, trying to serve everybody else? How bad did it get and how did you manage those times?
Wow, that's a great question. I think when you lead with vulnerability and just speak your truth, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. We're all in this. We're all family, genuinely. I mean, I don't think I've met anybody on this call. I may have done, and forgive me if I can't see all these people on this screen, but if I've not met you, we've already connected, because the fact that you're on this call is that you're looking to develop and learn skills to be able to be a better, stronger version of yourself. So first of all, what Matt's doing is great, because he's really raising vibration to be a stronger version, physically, mentally, emotionally, to give you the tools and the strategies to go on and be a better force to help the world. But yeah, with myself, there's been many low points, and I'd like to say there's been loads, like not really many low points and loads of high points. Anybody I truly believe that is doing anything in the world that's massively impactful, unfortunately, gets given a very rocky, bumpy road. And through that adversity really enables you to either respond and get up and fight, or to just die and turn over. And for me, there's many times I wanted to quit. But when I had Thomas, and Ellie and, the children, it was selfish for me it was like more of a responsibility, which put more pressure on. So indirectly, it was like not even my choice. There's times when there's one time in particular where, I was suicidal. I don't say that lightly because I know a lot of people think it. Male suicide rates are up now more than ever. Mental health and well-being is more than ever. We don't have an outlet to speak about because we have so much pressure. And especially perception is reality. What you perceive of somebody else is generally not the reality of what's going on. That, you see a guy in a Ferrari with a blonde bird or a brunette, whatever, and, you think, well, that guy's got it sorted. He's got his supercar, he's got his model girlfriend. But what you don't realise is the car's on finance. The girl in the car's a hooker, and he's about to write his car off into the building because his wife and kids left him. Okay, but that's where compassion comes in. Now, if you knew that, then you look at things very differently, and then you react very differently. So when we're in a situation in life where we are in its darkest, deepest moments, and we feel like we don't have a way out, then it's not good. But for some reason, you find the strength deep within, and it's those points you can't sell on a CD. You can't educate somebody. Unfortunately, you have to go through it and you have to feel it. But through those, that resilience truly shapes you to be somebody now that you know that you want to be. And pain and pleasure is the biggest driver. At what point does it become so painful that it's less painful to go and take action in the things that you didn't want to do? Right. And then from that step, it's just small steps. I've gone from that to then wiping the tears and thinking, I feel ashamed of myself, how selfish, to what I'm even thinking. I'm so stupid, because people have got diagnoses, they don't have a choice, and it's got this how selfish I've been given, all this dialogue that we have. The best relationship you can ever have with anybody is with yourself, because everything that you need is within you now. There's nothing external that you need to go search for. Okay, so the personal journey, the personal development is not something that some guru's going to tell you. The reason that you resonate, whether it's Tony Robbins or Les Brown or Wayne Dyer or whoever, is because you already have this information and you resonate with what they're saying. And you then get the energy. Energy is abundance. And when we get aligned with who we truly are, and we have some direction with that, and we get into his higher intelligent self, listen, you're still going to go off-road, you're still going to have bums, but you've now got more of a toolbox to deal with it. So when that call happens, unfortunately, my mum's just been diagnosed. It's hard to say. She's been diagnosed with leukemia. She's got 8 weeks to live. I got told that 2 days ago. And it's scary, but I'm thinking, wow, I need to be strong for her, and I have to have emotion, but I also have to find a way. Because when the consultant said to me, she's got 8 weeks left to live, I said, I don't accept the diagnosis with your limited information. And I'm not trying to be positive, because they told me that 12 years ago when she had liver failures. They told me she's got 24 hours left to live. And I was just looking at the notes literally the night before coming back from Geneva. And it said, this patient will not, this is 12 years ago, this patient will not survive. 24 hours left to live, palliative care induced. She went from 18 stone to 7 stone. For the next 3 months, I stayed with her and we walked out of that hospital. And today she's still alive. And they say it's beyond medical science and the rest of it. So when this diagnosis came in, I was like, round 2.
We go again.
We go again.
But this comes back to everything you say, and thank you for sharing that, Gary, because I know that is obviously an extremely sensitive, emotional, and very raw thing. But one thing that I get from you, Gary, is it only enhances what you said, which is about building the solid foundations so that you have got the ability to manage your emotions, so that you can be the strength and you can serve others when it's needed. And obviously that's the most selfless thing you can do, but it comes back to, you had to do the inner work. You had to be, as they say, selfish first before you can be selfless.
Now, most of you that listen to this show every week are also already members of our incredible membership. So you don't need me to tell you how amazing that it is. If you're not a member, I'm not going to list everything that you get, because it's completely free to join anyway. So all I would say is click the link in our show notes, head on over, start your membership, and you will find out for yourself. But simply put, the membership is this. It is there to give you the guidance, the support, the accountability, the community, and the information that is there if you actually want to start to become a person who achieves what it is you say you want to achieve. If you want to become that high performance action taker, that person that is a go-getter, that has got the support to start making change in every single area of your life, that's what the membership does. That is what we are there to do. And I can tell you now that if you take action, if you sign up, and if you commit to consistently engaging with the membership, I can almost 100% guarantee you that it will positively impact every single area of your life. But I can't do that for you. You are the missing link. You need to click that link. You need to sign up. You need to join us, and you need to get involved. If you do, the results will come. The question is, will you do it? I don't know, but I really hope so. And if you do, I'll be excited to welcome you into the community. Guys, I've got a question to ask. If you are listening to this podcast right now and you haven't yet purchased a ticket for our live in-person event, what on earth are you doing? You need to stop listening. You need to go purchase your ticket and you need to make your way to Bradford on Saturday, the 6th of January to get yourself in the room. No excuses. I don't care if it's your day of your wedding. Cancel your wedding. You can postpone it. It's not as important as this. If you were at the first event that we did in Manchester, you will know just how powerful it is to get into a room full of people who are like-minded, to engage in the great content, to meet the guest speakers, and to bloody well meet me. Like, what more do you need? All jokes aside, I seriously think out of everything I've ever done, putting on these events is the thing I enjoy the most. I think it is the most powerful and impactful, and it has the potential to genuinely change your life. It has the potential to help you connect with some great people that could become lifelong friends. There's just so many benefits. What I've done is I've put the link to get tickets in the show notes of this episode. So just head over there if you want to get a ticket. There's going to be some great speakers. We're also going to be doing some group breath work. We're going to be doing some group coaching where I'll be there coaching you guys on the day. We'll be talking about some stuff that's genuinely going to get you thinking about what you want out of your life and what you need to be doing to take the steps to make those changes. You're also going to be invited to do some cold water therapy. It's not compulsory. There's just going to be the opportunity if you want to do it. I certainly will be doing it. So if you want to get in an ice bath with me, that will be available to you. We're also going to be having some really healthy, nutritious foods available to eat on the day. It's just going to be such a positive day. The way that I'm sort of marketing it is like a little mini retreat in Bradford. Who knew? Who knew you could do that in winter in Bradford? It's happening, like I say, on the Saturday the 6th. It's going to be in the day, and I would love to see you there. Click the link to get your ticket. Drop me a message. You can either email me at successschoolgroup@gmail.com or DM me on the various social media handles if you've any questions. But do get your tickets fast, because I'm not just saying this is a marketing thing. I am very, very pleased to see they are selling very, very quickly. So don't procrastinate. Take action, and I'll see you there.
Gary, thank you. Once again, you've given some absolute gold. Just before we finish and head over to the members' questions, got kind of a few generalized questions that I like to ask all guests. So a little bit more quick fire stuff. Okay, the first one is, what is the best advice you've ever received and why?
I can answer that in so many different ways, but I've had so many great advice. I think depending on where you are in life and the advice that you get given can sometimes jump out more, because it can just be the most stupidest bit of advice in the most stupidest moment, and it can be the simplest advice that you are aware of, that you knew about, but you just want applying. So one of the there was a great, in fact, with Tony Robbins. I don't know if this was the best one, but one of the things I said to Tony Robbins personally was, I can't understand it how I keep giving, and like everybody just takes and takes, and I don't want anything in return. I just want to help. And he said, well, he listened to me. He said, well, that's not true, Gary. I said, what do you mean? I said, no. I said, I just want to give. He said, no. He said, you're a selfish. Well, he said something else, but he said, you're very selfish. I said, selfish? I'm not selfish. I just want to give. He said, well, why do you give, Gary? I said, because I get so much enjoyment and excitement. I'm happy when I help people. He said, so you want excitement, you want energy. So because sometimes when you don't get the excitement and energy that you want, you're not happy. So it's a trade-off. You want that. So the advice I can give you is that you have to give unconditionally. And I didn't think I was giving with a condition, but indirectly I was, because if I do this for you, I don't want money back. I'm not looking for you to pay it back, but at some level, I'm looking at some level of the, if I don't feel that they've received it, then I feel like, well, then maybe they don't really care or whatever it is. So, that I don't know if that's advice, but it was really recognizing that I have no right to do something and expect, if you truly are doing it from the heart and giving, then if it serves you, amazing. If it doesn't, throw it out the basket. But either way, my intentions was good and pure.
Beautiful. Next question. What is one of the worst pieces of advice you've ever been given, and why?
I'd like to say it's from my parents, but I'm not going to go there. Probably. And I think when bad advice comes, I don't think it's intentional bad advice. It's just what they know. So how much, your parents might say, well, in fact, was it advice? I don't know what advice. So many things just coming through my head. My mum said to me, just be careful, don't employ too many people, because what happens if you have to fire them? Just stay, don't get too big. What happens if, and I don't know if that's advice, but the advice was, don't get out your shoes, don't become too big, just remember where you're from, don't and I'm like, wow, if we was to listen, and my mum wants me to do well. This is not from a bad place, but her
it's because
advice
she's worried about you, right? She's scared
from a fear.
Yeah.
It's her fear projected onto me. People mostly make fear-based decisions. And one thing, just quickly, my grandmother, lived near the doctors for God knows how many years. And I said to her, why don't we move you into a bungalow? She said, well, I don't want to move house. I'm like, why? Then steps, you're going to fall down the steps. Let's move you to a bungalow. And she did eventually. But the reason why she wouldn't move for many years is because she said, my doctor's just lives around the corner. And I said, well, what's that got to do with anything? She said, well, if anything happens to me, I'm near my doctor. And I said, well, what happens if something doesn't happen to you? And she's like, well, I'll probably move abroad. And I said, well, we need to be looking to plan to enjoy life. It's amazing how people's mind works that keeps them grounded and limited by the fear of that if she's not near a doctor and something happens, then it's dangerous. So I truly believe in almost leaning into your fear at some level, because guess what? It's like a cloud. You threw it and it's like, wow, that one thing has stopped me all my life. Yeah. And I've just kind of I'm not risk adverse. If I believe in it, I'm jumping off the cliff and I'll figure out how I'm going to open the parachute. Probably not a good idea. So don't.
Let's put a disclaimer out there. Don't try this at home. Next question. What is one of the biggest mistakes you ever made, and what did you learn from it?
Well, I've got many mistakes. Pick one, Gary. Pick one. Do you know what? I don't know if it's a mistake, but when I've fallen out with people, not as recently, because I certainly do my very best to make sure that how can I be a better communicator if something happens and we've fallen out. I don't say, well, it's their fault. I'm looking at, okay, well, I've got to take some responsibility. How do I get it right? But he's not making good. If somebody else does wrong by you, okay, my impression was always, well, they need to apologise to me. Is really to be that bigger person. And even if you're not doing business with them or you don't need to see them, it's really more for me than the other person. I am almost forgiving them. And even though they might be the wrong person, is to bring them up and say, look, whatever happened, I'm taking full responsibility, to own responsibility, and to say good night and tell the people that you love, and find time for it. So what was the question? I've just completely gone on a rant there.
No, it's great. It's what was the biggest mistake you've ever made, and what did you learn from it?
Sorry. The reason I mentioned that is because I would be very, very, very morally and value driven, where I would allow that to get in the way of who I truly am, because I'd be having such a high standard. I would just, sometimes you just have to you have to learn to love from a distance. Okay, that's a great, powerful thing to do. If it's your parents or somebody that you love or somebody that's close, you have to recognize that you can't choose your family, but you have to learn to love from a distance. Don't be in that environment, and find a way of sometimes just letting go more for you. As the advice is to let go. It's not, you don't have to carry it. We're carrying a minibus around with us of problems and shit. It's like, no, the lighter will become, the quicker we can go, or the more relaxed we can be.
What is your biggest weakness right now that needs addressing?
Probably sleep.
That's kind of been an ongoing theme, I think, with you, Gary. I remember when we first met, you was like, I don't like sleep. I'm too excited. I'm excited to get up in the morning. I'm excited to stay up. I don't want to go to bed. I was like, this man just never sleeps.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm really a bit of a what's the word? I say it like maybe a fraud. I tell people what they've got to do, and there's a part of that I do 99%. But sleep, when we look at health and a pillar, sleep is the number one thing. But I genuinely am. I say I don't know what's going to kill me first: happiness or excitement. I'm going to just blow up one day of one of the two. But for me, I love what I do. I don't see time as it's just one continuous amazingness. And don't get me wrong, I don't really have any down days. I think I just have good days. I mean, it might piss a few people off, but I've architected my life to be the way that I want it to be and with the people I want it to be. So
you built this, right? You've created the life you want to live so that you don't want to sleep. And that's the only reason it pisses people off, is because they've been given a life they don't want and they just accept it, right?
No, but I'm going to definitely. I mean, you can't burn the candle at both ends, as we say. But I think, to give more, you have to sleep and look after yourself. The biggest thing on this journey for me is like, you have to take care of yourself. Be selfish. Yeah. Do more of you.
Beautiful. And the ethos behind Success School really is this idea that there's a lot that traditional education just doesn't really educate us on. It doesn't really set us up to be successful in life necessarily, and to be truly fulfilled, have loving relationships, good communication, financial education, health, nutrition. So that's what Success School is about giving people the lessons that traditional education didn't. So based on that, if you was to give 3 key pieces of information, 3 key lessons that you've learned from the school of life that you think everybody needs in order to live a truly fulfilling, happy, healthy, successful life, what would be the main 3 lessons you would share with people?
Well, there's so many, but 3. Number 1 is the operating system of who you are, and that comes down to many things of nutrition, sleep, all the health stuff. We're so trying to figure out every other complexity in life and control businesses and people, but we're not looking after ourselves. So number 1 is really get to know who you are and control your own. The 3. Did you say 3 things that?
3 lessons, 3 important lessons that are going to help you live a happy, fulfilling, successful life that you don't learn at school.
So nutrition, number 1, basically. Nutrition. We're only as healthy as the soil that we eat and the environment that we're in, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Okay. I would like to say that at school, education was set up for the Industrial Revolution. There's a great TED talk that you might want to write down by the name of Sir Ken Robinson, How Education Kills Creativity. It's a fabulous TED talk. And he basically is a professor and sums it up. That education is amazing, but it's not everything it's meant to be. So the lessons, is nutrition, is know yourself, to know who you are is then to give. The other lesson that I would say is that it's a lifelong lesson, that always question and ask questions. Oh, it's a lesson that we don't get taught. It's like, I don't know if the common sense can be taught to people. I think you either have it or you don't. Some people are very academic but don't have the sense to cross the road and look left. It seems crazy.
Yeah.
So the lesson for me would be nutrition, finances, because I know you can say, well, they'll learn your finances. Not really. This is why most people are in debt. Most people are trying to get out of debt. This is why one of the campaigns that we're doing to help 1 billion people with financial literacy is not to become millionaires, it's to manage the money. If you earn £100, you can't spend 105. So financial literacy lesson is what I'd put in there. So nutrition, understand your finances. So really health, finances. And the other lesson is I don't know whether it's a lifelong lesson, but we have to figure out how to be happy. I've spent a lot of time with billionaires. And one of the questions I ask them is, if you're that smart, how come you haven't figured out how to be happy? Now that's a big thing, because I just want to be happy. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. And I want to have the ability to take all of my knowledge and wisdom, bring it to the heart level and pay it forward in a meaningful way with friends, family, partners, and whoever's on my journey. Amazing, because there's many more lessons that I'm going to be able to learn along the way.
Have you found what makes you happy, Gary?
Oh my gosh, have I found it? I can't take any more. I need some bad news just to take the edge off.
What is it at the heart of it? What makes Gary happy?
You know what? Family. Where I am right now, my granddad. And I know what you're thinking, the best looking granddad you've ever seen, whatever. For me, really,
far too young. Far too young.
You get to a certain level, whether it's financially or spiritual. And for me now, truthfully, I feel I've learned a lot. I've had a lot of privileges in my life, and I've had a lot of knocks and gifts. But every single thing, it's a gift that I've got to be able to now share with people. I've got professors as investors. I've got tycoon billionaires as partners, and I'm thinking to myself, how can I be even in the same room as them? We all have to recognize we bring value to the table. Don't ever think, because your life is through your lens. So what makes me happy now is the fact that I truly believe that what I'm doing is on the right path, and makes me happy is spending time around people that want to collaborate in making the world a better place. There's so many problems out there that we have to solve. For the people that are not aware, technologies that we need to get to people we have to pay forward. It's growth and contribution. We talk about happiness. Where does it really truly lie? I believe every single person on this call, okay, is probably more happier when they have felt like they've done something for somebody else. It's a feeling that you can't describe. When I bought the first Ferrari, I took it to see a friend, and the first thing I got were, like, who do you think you are? And my intentions was to share this excitement. It wasn't really about showing off. And that was back then I realized, oh my gosh, maybe it did come across that way. But the truth is that, happiness is an inside job. I think that's a book. Happiness is an inside job. We just have to find out what makes us happy. And if we're healthy and we're with the right people in the right environment, you can't really get it wrong. You can be the poorest man on the planet, but the most happiest. So for me, success is not £1 billion or helping 1 billion people. It's really like, what is success? It's like, success to me is, the definition is saying I'm going to make £100 a week and achieving it. Okay, well, you've been successful in that specific thing. For me, success means is that taking everything that I know and achieving the milestones and the targets that's meaningful along the way through life. And my big mission is to create an ecosystem and a village to where we can get everybody healthy and drunk in consciousness.
Yes, Gary, absolutely brilliant. If people want to see more from you, let them know. Where can they find you, Gary?
You can find me at GaryRhodes.io. My Instagram is GaryRhodes360. And yeah, if I'm generally never in one place. I'm not running from the tax man, I can assure you, but I never seem to be one place at any time. But listen, I would invite every single person down. We just opened a new clinic in Leeds called Dexter Strong. And it's called the Muscle and Bone Health Clinic. It's 4,000 square foot of absolutely amazing four-season style healthcare system. And we've opened a coffee shop called Coffee Strong, creating strong communities. So the heart of anything is the community. We create awareness, education, and that's what we're doing. So I would encourage, I'm here for the next sort of 3-4 weeks. So between now and then, and I genuinely mean this, guys, it's not just an offer because, it sounds good. Anybody that wants to come down there, drop me an email at Gary.Rhodes, RHODES, Gary.Rhodes @bonestrong.com. Or on the website, and just send me a message. And if you want to go down there, guys, and come and see what we've got, for the next 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going to be holding some talks with the professors, the universities. We just took 2 PhD students on to do more research. If there's anything in that little ecosystem that you can see and learn and pay forward, then I'd love to meet. If you all want to come together, you're very welcome. .co.uk. Sorry,
I said it wrong. Is that Nicola sorting it out for you?
I don't know my email. I never email myself. Gary.Rhodes @bonestrong.co.uk.
Yeah. And if you just let them know that we are going to be having like events.
Yeah, the team down there is amazing. We're going to be doing so many different events down there. And Matt, you're very welcome to use our place as a place if you wanted to have an event. Completely complimentary. Come down, and it's a safe space where you can. I'm blown away by what the team has done here, but this is the blueprint of, we're going to roll 200 of these out in the UK and then thousands globally. So you're all very welcome. And I look forward to meeting every single one of you and hopefully having a hug or a shaking your hand in person.
Or a social distance with a mask, if that's your
No,
thing. No, you won't do that. Gary Rhodes, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thanks, Nicola, for sorting it out as well, making sure he's giving the right information.
You're coming at the right time.
Okay, so I know I said I wasn't going to bang on about everything that's inside the membership, and that's true. I didn't lie to you. I'm not going to tell you everything because it's free to join. Go over there, find out for yourself. But one thing I do want to make sure you're aware of is pretty much almost every guest that you listen to on this podcast also agrees to do a further around about 30 minutes worth of the chat that is only available to the members only. Because what we do is we invite our members to listen to a lot of these podcasts being recorded live. And then once we've finished, they stay on the live on Zoom where they can actually ask questions to the guest speaker and get more personalized, bespoke answers. Now, if you want to be on the upcoming episodes, if you want to meet these guests and put your question to them, and if you also want to right now start to listen to all the past few years worth of these conversations, head on over to the link in the show notes, start your free trial today, and just to let you know as well, it's less than £5 a week after your free trial ends. So it's not going to cost you a lot of money, even if you want to stay long term. Click that link, start your trial, go listen to the content, get your invite to come and join us on all future podcast recordings, and I look forward to seeing you in our amazing, incredible community of people in the membership area. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode today, and I'll see you next time.